Thank you for joining us. I am Jamie Bleakley,
And I'm Crystal Vermeyer.
and we are two of the owners of A Better Tomorrow Therapy and Wellness here in Anchorage, Alaska. Today we're going to talk about kind of the wintertime blues. Alaska gets a little bit dark for a time, and we're on the upswing of that. But also, people tend to fall in funks. So talking about like different ways to raise spirits, to keep yourself out of that. Ugh.
Yeah. Because, I mean, as parents and as professionals, if we're in a kind of icky place, we aren't our most regulated self to help the tiny humans that need our help to be regulated. Because that's a big part of what we do as adults is co-regulate those little people.
Which is challenging when you're
When you're
not
already,
regulated.
when you're feeling funky yourself.
So. My first word of advice is still get outside. There is so much to do. Bundling up, going sledding, cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, ice skating.
Any winter sports.
Yeah. So get out on those trails, enjoy that time. Get your kids outside on the playgrounds and still play and move and get that vitamin D naturally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do a lot of walking. I just wear my snow pants and full gear and sometimes a full mask if it's that cold. And if it's super chilly, I might only be out for 5-10 minutes. But if it's, above 10 to 15, I'm usually like, oh, it's warm again. And I can go a little bit longer. But yeah, getting the right gear and getting outside is really important. And then the other thing that I do at my house is I still open the windows in the winter. And I think that does a couple things. It lets that fresh air in. So you get that like fresh air feeling. But it also helps to move the air and get that stagnicity out. So you're not as likely to get sick too, because you're like refreshing that air a little bit. There's lots of countries like Norway and like maybe Sweden. I don't know. Some of those other northern countries that swear by that kind of stuff, and I'm like, it's kind of hokey, but it works. Like
those are also the countries that have their babies take naps outside
like,
during the
they
winter.
go outside and they go do things, and they're out in the outside. So I find that I've been doing that the last couple of years, and that's been helpful too. Of just
How
getting
does that impact like your heating bill and your
It doesn't. I mean, it's like 5 minutes. Like I open my bedroom window and I'll open the kitchen window and just let it sit open for like 5 minutes. Like I'll do it while I'm making my morning breakfast or like getting stuff ready for the day. Like it's like 5-10 minutes tops. Yesterday I did open it and leave it open for like 30 minutes, and I was like, oh dear, go close the windows. But it was also a little bit warmer out, so that wasn't bad. But I don't feel like it's changed it a lot, and I'm not leaving it open long enough to. I might not be leaving it open long enough to make the maximum benefit either, but it's that little bit of refresh of just like the gust of fresh, cool air. It's like, oh, okay. And remind me, like our bedroom, we have blackout shades. So just opening those and getting some of the sunlight in there is also refreshing. So as much sitting in natural light as you can, open, like curtains open. I try to look outside in the daylight, even if I'm working all day on those short winter days, because like you go to work in the dark and you come home in the dark. And so if I can get outside at lunchtime, or at least like I love when we can work in the gym at our clinic right now has windows that face the mountains and stuff, so we can still see out and see the sunshine when it's that window of sunshine exists.
I'm in a reflective supervision group, and this is one of the discussions we had this week too, is how to deal with this. And what we were kind of discussing too is morale of employees when it gets dark and gloomy, and it's dark when they come to work and dark when they go home, and they're inside a building all the time. One of the suggestions that came up with that is having a happy light that they can sit in front of for 5-10 minutes a day. Just turn it on and having something, that extra light, and also like taking the supplements of vitamin D always makes a difference too, and is highly recommended.
I up the dose of that in the winter because I'm already a little deficient, and so like with my doctor's recommendations, of course, but they're like, you need more often. So like every other day I'm doing more than the normal amounts.
I take more than the recommended amount. My doctor's like, you can overdo it on that, and then they do my blood work, and they're like, take a little bit more. So, getting that tested on a regular basis is probably a good plan also.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other things that came up was, and what I heard on the radio today, which kind of tied everything together too, that like maybe we should talk about this, is having like a smile file or a happy notebook either for yourself or as a group where people can recognize what they've accomplished. Sometimes when we aren't as active in the wintertime, it feels like we're being a little more lazy.
A little more stagnant. Yeah, and one of the practices that I do is a gratitude journal. It's along those same lines of like every day, like depending on which journal I'm using and different things, it's like 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for from the last 24 hours. So trying to keep it very specific to like what were the things that happened in the last 24 hours. And sometimes it's stuff that I'm like legitimately super excited about and like really grateful for, and some of it's like I use it as a mental reset for myself too, where it's like, oh, my kid was driving me bonkers, and I'm really grateful to have my child, and so I'm really grateful for the good things that come out of all of that. So sometimes I use it to just reframe my mind. If I know that I'm like leaning towards frustration or a funky place with a person or a situation or things, it's like, no, I'm actually grateful to have that opportunity because it could be something else. It could be somewhere else, and so it's just bringing back that reflection of my life is pretty darn good most of the time, and the little hiccups, I mean, can be really frustrating in the moment, but usually they're not as big a deal as you can let them be.
So you have recognizing the accomplishments you have, recognizing the accomplishments of others around you, and that gratitude side of it, like that's very important. We also have a lot of places here in Alaska indoors that we can do if it's really ugly and cold and just not safe to be outside. The museum is always a great place to go. They've got a great section for kids, along with being able to go to the different floors, and they switch that around on a fairly regular basis.
Quarterly or so, yeah.
So it's nice to go to. There's also like the dinosaur museum and the aviation museum. So other places that you can
The Native
kind of
Heritage Center and stuff. There's a couple.
those kind of places. Fairview also has a fabulous indoor playground, which lots of climbing, jumping, moving, which is much more cost effective than things like and less stimulating than things like Get Air. But
Yeah, and then there's different pools in the town that do different things. Like West Tide does is open swim on weekends. There's H2 Oasis and other water park stuff, and just other pools that are available. The YMCA. There's the Dome.
East High is tied in with YMCA, and it's like $5-10. It's fairly inexpensive.
Yeah.
REI will rent equipment for pretty cheap that you can get out for that outdoor equipment that that's available. Any other things?
So I'm thinking, I'm like, is there anything else that we do in the winter? But I think we've covered it. Just like actually getting outside and being conscious of your mindset is a big part of it too.
Changing your environment too. A lot of times, Fred Meyer and Cars will have discount flowers, so you can get fresh cut flowers. Not so fresh cut, but for like $5, and like it's nice
Cheap,
to have
nice little flowers.
something live and colorful in your house. I know this weekend we intend on setting up our grow room downstairs to start our
Fun.
yeah. So we're gonna start all of our little seedlings. I know my son was already out yesterday, and I found out yesterday that he's like, oh yeah, I went into the greenhouse to see if anything was growing. I'm like, oh, we got to plant it for it to grow.
We didn't start that yet.
So that's kind of our plan for this weekend, is to get new growth going and to remind us that longer days are ahead.
Yeah.
Getting close.
We're getting close. It was like at 6 o'clock ish yesterday, and there was like just faint light in the sky, and my husband was like, oh, it's sort of light outside still. Like you can still see the glimmer of light. The other thing that I thought of while you were talking about like getting fresh stuff started is my nightly ritual in the winter, I've been out of it right now, is just lighting a candle. Like on my table and stuff. So once I've like reset the kitchen and everything's clean, and like we turn the lights off in there and go to the living room, and it's sort of open concept-ish. I just have that little bit of light, so it's got that natural like flicker and the little bit of red light from the fire. Like
Reminds you of the campfires.
it reminds me of the campfires, which is one of my regulatory strategies. My husband was having a particularly hard day, like beginning of January, and it was not warm. It was like 3 degrees outside, and he lit a fire out in the driveway, like in the container. But it's like, yep, nope. this is what's happening right now. I came home and I was like, oh, okay. But it was nice. We sat out in our snow pants and warm weather gear and stood by the fire and chatted for like an hour or so. And it was like, all right, let's put this out and go inside. It's cold out here. But
Very nice. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully this was helpful with giving some ideas of how to boost spirits during the colder months and darker months. Feel free to like, subscribe, share,
comment.
All
the different things that get us like seen and will get us put out there to other people so that more people can see us. And then I would also just say too is don't hesitate to reach out to a mental health provider if you are in a funky place, because there's absolutely no shame in that. These are just tips and ideas like to keep things moving if you're a little bit in a funk, but if you're really feeling it, see a professional and get the support and the help that you need. So that's going to be life changing.
Thank you for joining us, and we are at this point doing weekly new podcasts, so check us out and continue to follow. Thank you.
Thanks.